you should time it for 2.5 seconds and then bounce back.
All right, it seems that we are live. Yes, the following podcast may incite original thought, culture, self-sufficiency, and smarter conversations. Be advised. Welcome. This is today's podcast of Torre del Viejos and Shoot the Shit and Apple on the Desk and art about stuff. We are all in today. We are all in today. Today, our guest here is Dima. And Dima is, oh my goodness, Dima, how many platforms do you have? She is a collaborative network all in one.
I am a circus.
Oh, no, far away from circus. But we do have unicorns.
We do have unicorns. Yes.
We do have unicorns. Dima is our guest, and of course, John is here with us. I'm Sandy, and today we're going to use our platform for what it is. One of the reasons why we have all these platforms here is to just share information, to be vocal, and to be active. Not just to be vocal, but to do something about it. And today we're asking you to just simply listen and share, even if that's something better than what it is that's going on right now in the world. We have to be aware of what's happening to our brothers and sisters in Sudan. Okay. And this is for everyone to listen to. So please open your ears, open your eyes, and the platform is yours, Sister Dima. Please talk to us. First of all, for those of us who are not geographically inclined, tell us, where is Sudan?
Sudan is somewhere on Earth.
Yes, that's true.
I'm going to do you a favor.
I'm glad I topped up my coffee. Muscadro family, this is my greeting to you in my Nubian tongue. As my queen sister Sandy said, my name is Dima Mahmoud. I am Nubian of what is today called Sudan. Sudan, the full name is Bilad as-Sudan, translated to the land of the blacks. And that's number one to put there as we have this conversation to contextualize what we're going to be talking about. Sudan used to be the largest country in Africa until 2009. When our South Sudanese brothers and sisters seceded, had opted and chosen independence for reasons that we continue to struggle with today. We're vastly rich. We've been overshadowed by our neighbor to the north, Egypt, for reasons that we can get into throughout this conversation as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm really
What do you mean by overshadowed?
As in, they're not here. Look at us, look at us, look at us. As I said, I started by saying I am Nubian and that I am from Sudan, but I grew up in Egypt. I grew up in Egypt means I went to school in Egypt, which is why I really, really resonate with all my sister says and does in the name of education, Sandy. Because despite the education I received in Egypt, I was not educated as an African. I did not learn African history. I did not learn African civilization. I did not learn African leaders. I did not even learn that Nubia and the Nubian civilization is as integral as it is to what Egypt is today. It was always a footnote when discussing ancient Egyptian civilization, which is not true. That's what I mean, overshadowed. There's like this massive ego that is projected, and in the shadow of this ego, if you look very, very closely and very intently, then you'll see the truth.
So kind of like what they did with us, like take the Tainos almost didn't happen type, look at us, America. Kind of like that?
Okay. Exactly.
Okay.
So this is exactly why we're having these conversations. Joey, stop popping on and off this. It's making me dizzy. Just stay on, please, with your nice glasses. I don't know where John went as well.
Mm.
But exactly. And this is why we're here. This is why, in fact, this is the platform that connected Joey and Sandra and myself was Africa Week 2020.
Yes.
And it was a reunion of our larger family of people of African ancestry. It was in 2020 for Africa Liberation. Well, it was Africa Liberation Day, but then came Africa Liberation Week. But really, it was a platform where our family can come together under the virtual family tree and exchange what is going on. Exchange the pain, but also exchange the resilience, the success stories, the innovation, the love, the genius that is coming out of the continent. And now, more than ever, we need to be yielding our platforms this way. Today is the 11th day that Sudan is under a complete internet blackout.
So when you say an internet blackout, you're saying that there is no form of social media, no form of communication when it comes throughout the internet.
Unless you have a connect and a plug somewhere or are blessed to be close enough to an embassy that will allow you to use their networks, you are cut off the internet.
So for those of us that are here on the state side, right, we've been spoiled in the sense that we've always had some form of access of internet. Now, some people might be like, well, I remember not having internet. And I'm old enough to say, I remember not living with internet. This is relatively new in my life. Even when everybody else was all the rave with internet, we still like, yeah, we don't have that. So I can understand that one, that idea of not being connected into the web. But what the situation that's happening right now in Sudan, how vital is it to have that type of communication at this moment?
About 3 weeks ago, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram shut down for a few hours. What happened with the world?
Everybody had a panic attack. I remember that.
Because I live in a hole under a rock and 3 mines, I didn't realize that happened.
Yes, but for those whose means of communication and connection with their families,
Yes.
their businesses, whatever, that was integral. And that was only for a few hours. And Mark Zuckerberg went out there crying basically for all the money that was lost. And that was just for a few hours. It wasn't even for a full day.
Right.
We're talking about 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we put those 11 days to the side and contextualize what's actually happening in Sudan throughout these 11 days. And to do that, we need to take a few steps back to December 2018, when the youth, the women and the men of Sudan took to the streets to topple a tyrant, an oppressive dictator, Omar al-Bashir, who had been in power for almost 30 years at that time.
Wow. 30 years. Wow. That's an entire generation.
Yeah.
There were heroes and still are, who have known no one and nothing else but this failed system, but this corrupt system, but this system that continues to marginalize and oppress and bleed our country and people dry.
Okay.
That is all they know. And what we hear our elders, our parents, our grandparents speak of is something that incites a sense of jealousy and envy for a Sudan that we have no connection with, because, they're speaking of this great Sudan when there was this freedom, when there was a certain level of education, when there was you can't even ground it or pin it in a way, because you have no foundation to make that comparison. So they took to the streets in December. They were fired at with live ammunition.
This is in 2018?
This is in 2018, December 2018. It wasn't on the news. Then in 2000, we continued into 2019. And in April, I mean, there was an insane level of organization, really. And in April, they marched to the army headquarters and decided to sit in. Now, it's very important to say that the chant, one of the main chants, one of the principles, which ultimately became our foreign policy, really, was silmiya, meaning peaceful. This is a peaceful protest. It's a non-violent protest.
Can you say the word one more time?
Silmiya. It comes from
Silmiya.
salam.
Okay.
Salam being peace. So, silmiya, silmiya, silmiya. This is a peaceful protest. So they had the sit-in. And in that sit-in, they organized in a way, and I say they because I wasn't on the ground. I couldn't be there. I was and still am a diasporan. But we were all in awe at the level of organization. I mean, the Sudan Professionals Associations, we have doctors, pharmacists, dentists, teachers, lawyers, builders, you name it, organized and had sections where they had classes for the youth who were there, where they had cooking sections to feed all the people who were there, where they had security forces at the barricades to make sure that no one coming into the sit-in is carrying any form of weapon. They had clinics, they had mental health clinics, which is another thing that's just like, what? And they didn't move. Firing, ignoring that. It didn't matter what the military did. They didn't move. Then the African Union stepped in and said, okay, this needs to transfer to civilian rule within the next 15 days. Then Egypt, which was at the time chair of the African Union, stepped in and said, nah, let's make that 60 days.
So we went from 15.
I just want to ask John, this, what went through your mind?
That's a little suspicious. I'm just trying to see. World governments never do anything just for the sake of convenience. There's always an agenda behind it. You know what I mean? So my initial reaction is to think, oh yeah, I mean, uprooting a whole government and moving it takes time, it takes effort. Yeah, sure, give them more time. But then I stop myself and I'm like, it's I don't think it's that simple.
Yes, it's not. Because in 2011 actually, oh my God, all the years are going in together. January 25th, the protests, I'm very weary of calling it a revolution because that whatever part that was revolutionary of these protests was hijacked. But in Egypt, they went out on the streets, and you remember, people were saying, oh, walk like an Egyptian, and, everyone's on Tahrir Square, and you have millions in the square. There were like 2 million, or maybe 3 million at the square.
Vaguely remember something like that, yeah.
Yeah. There were 4 million on the streets of Sudan this past 30th of October, like last week.
4 million?
4 million Sudanese on the street. You will not hear that. It will not be told. And in the sit-in, at some point, just by triangulating the mobile data and whatever was being used in the sit-in, they counted more than 5-point-something million sitting outside the army headquarters. Now, the entire population of DC or the DMV is 6 million. Can you imagine if that population was sat outside the White House, the kind of coverage that would come out?
Yes. Yeah. It was the coverage that we saw on the Epiphany.
And the traffic jam it'll cause and all the craziness, yeah.
Traffic jam.
To recognize these discrepancies, to recognize the double standards, to recognize the hypocrisy, and to go back to what John was saying, there's something sinister here. Yes, because the Egyptian revolution was hijacked, and it was hijacked by the military. And not just was it hijacked by the military, they shut down Tahrir Square which is the symbol of their, the square of their liberation. At-Tahrir is also, Tahrir means liberation. So they shut down their liberation square, put their army tanks there, erected a statue of a soldier, and people can't go back out to the streets. So for Egypt to have its neighbor, right, bordering it, uprising, and the people saying, now we're done with this, no more military rule.
That's not convenient.
Power to the people. It's very, very inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Particularly inconvenient if you're thinking historically of Egypt sort of disassociating itself when it comes to Africa. What the Egyptian government, at least in their curricula, will say, well, it won't frame Egypt as an African country. It'll hardly even frame Egypt as an Arab country, where Egypt is this unique thing that is like an island.
Yes, that I can agree with, because thinking about me just growing up and learning about different, you start learning about history, and it wasn't until I would probably say middle school that I kind of went, oh, wait a minute, Egypt is in Africa? Because I made it the way it was presented in history, the way I learned it. And I went to school from, my primary school until at least elementary school, 6th grade in the United States in New York City. And not to say that, there's one state that's better than the other. It's still, there's always room for improvement when it comes to education. But in a place like New York City, you do have more of an open mind because there's so many different cultures, and they do try to at least accommodate certain things. I didn't think that Egypt was part of Africa until I hit middle school, and we actually world history kicked in, and I was like, Egypt is there in Africa? So it took me a long time to kind of comprehend that. And I felt just as ignorant as maybe somebody that I'm saying that I look at other people as ignorant, but it does sound awkward when I say, I'm from Puerto Rico, and they ask, where in Mexico is Puerto Rico? And I go, okay,
Yeah.
let me educate you, because you don't know, and it's like, I don't have a problem with educating you. Just let me let you know. So, I can definitely understand how now, looking in retrospect and the way you're explaining it, the way it was taught, Egypt was taught to be this separate thing. It never really was linked to African territory. We're talking about the same chunk of land, the same continent.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a neighbor and there's a sea or an ocean that separates. We're talking about, even in the Caribbean, the Antilles, you do have at least the ocean that separates these islands. What gives?
And if I can just add to that, I had the same sort of epiphany myself. It was towards the tail end of middle school, if not the beginning of high school even, where I was like, hold on, Egypt is in Africa. That's true. So they're technically Africans. It just even feels weird to say it at the time anyway. So seeing how, being accustomed to whitewashing history and colonialism and all that, I get it. Hollywood did it for X reason. Historians did it for X reason. But you're saying that if I had a kid raised in Egypt, they teach it like that as well?
Oh, she is the product of the education in Egypt.
I grew up,
right. Yeah.
I went to Egyptian schools, international Egyptian schools. So it's not even, let's say, it's not even the national system, let's say, where the teachers aren't paid enough and there are too many students, so you can blame the educator. No.
Sure.
I went to private schooling in Egypt, and I did not know who Kwame Nkrumah was until I came to the US.
That must be hard. That must be hard to swallow, to get that.
And this is why I make it a point to say this specific statement, to say that I did not know one of our, an ancestor that laid the foundation of everything that I am working towards now. I did not know who that was. I did not know what he was calling for. I did not know his teaching. I did not know his comrades. I did not learn about, his struggle. I didn't. And that was deliberate. It is a deliberate disassociation, and it goes hand in hand with the psychological warfare that's been waged upon all people of indigenous and African ancestry.
Correct.
And this is what's happening in Sudan right now, again and again and again and again. You have even this blackout, the Sudan blackout, is part of the psychological warfare. You know, what is worse than not being able to connect and check in when you know you have genocidal terrorists running the streets outside, firing at everyone, going out, and they're able to triangulate your area using your phone data so that they can go capture you, arrest you, torture you, make you disappear, kill you, rape you, whatever it is. But and you're in the same country, you're possibly even their neighbor, and you cannot check on them to make sure they're okay. You cannot let your family abroad know that you are safe. Your family abroad can't check and see if you are alive. If that's not a psychological warfare,
that is an excellent point. Torre, which is, you know, that's Joey's in the background right now. He's helping out with keeping this platform moving. It says, in a digital world, disassociation is the new bullet. And or at least another form of ammo. And I think that's true, because the more, you know, ignorance is bliss for those who want to keep us ignorant. And so that's, you know, that is what we are trying to do, is to eradicate that. But I can only imagine how it felt, because it was for Hurricane Maria, and we didn't know about our family for 56 days.
Yeah.
And I know because I counted each day. Okay.
Yeah. I remember every time. Do you remember every time the emergency phone number would be updated?
Yep.
I'm Dominican. I have no family in Puerto Rico, but Sandy and Joy and a few others, I see them as family. So the second I saw that pop up, if I was at work, I paused or something and immediately just shared it. Yeah.
We had and it wasn't until they were able to somebody find some form of communicating online that I was able to have some news. It wasn't directly with my family yet. Yeah. It was because a friend of mine went online and I was able to find that person to tell another person, and it was like telephone, you know. So it was really hard, and that was just because of a natural disaster.
You see, this is why you and I are sisters, and I know we are connected, because all that's going in my mind is, right, I want every single Puerto Rican person to just take a moment and think, what if that hurricane is sitting in power with an army of genocidal terrorists, known for their role in the Darfur genocide, having massacred more than 300,000 people, are now running loose and fighting for their very existence.
I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine. After I spoke with you, I did my prayer, because we talked yesterday. For those, you know, we always like to talk, you know, and just put our heads together, because this is not done. Well, let's just, you know, sit down and talk, you know, shoot the shit, you know, not necessarily. We call it shoot the shit, but it's not necessarily done. We care about what we're doing. We care about what we're saying, because as scholars, we are conscious of what we think, say, do, and speak. Especially right, at least this scholar is. So General Winship did that to us, the first Puerto Rican governor to put into power by U.S. president. So we are hearing a lot of the same game plan being executed over and over again. And once again, if Brittany and if Fiestas can, you know, hear us or sees this later, thank you for being history teachers. Thank you for educating, because this is the role, and artists alike. I feel that artists are very important, because they capture the image that people cannot describe with words, but they can capture the image of what is happening in history so that we don't forget. This game plan is happening once again. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I want to keep on going, but, you know, I just need to put these markers, because this is where we have to, you know, create that consciousness and be like, hey, this is happening right now to our brothers and sisters in Sudan. Okay. What makes you think that it's not going to happen to us right next door? Okay. what makes you think that it's not happening to us right now? You just don't see it happening in such a just a
Blatant.
blatant way,
Mhm.
Okay, so you don't see it being happening, we don't have this military in the street yet, but it can. There are other ways, and I think it's just as bad. It's whether it's plain sight or not, it's just as bad. It's still being executed. And I don't want to sound like, oh, we know that they're getting into conspiracy theories. No, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is a fact that we have to continuously be educated. We have to continuously do for ourselves.
We have to keep asking questions.
Yes.
We are far more connected through the questions we ask than the answers we seek.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
going to say that again. We are far more connected to the questions we ask than the answers we seek.
So speaking on connections, how important are these connections? Why should somebody that maybe lives in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean worry or care about somebody in Sudan? What do you feel keeps us connected?
Our martyrs, and I presence them, and I presence their family, and I thank them, and I honor them for all they have done. And I renew my vow that I will not rest until justice is served. Our martyrs and our sheroes and heroes who continue to be on the street today have said time and again that this is a revolution of consciousness. As a revolution of consciousness, we are connected. We recognize our interconnectedness with one another. Why we are not on the media, why we are not on your news, whether you're Puerto Rican or Zimbabwean or Australian or Chinese. Why we're not on the news is that there is pure power, people power on the streets of Sudan right now. That is something that will wake you up, whether you like it or not. If you are seeing what's happening on the streets of Sudan, if you are following the hashtag Sudan coup, if you are finding out what is going on in Sudan, there is no way you will not wake up. You will find these dots that Sandy just connected to your history, to your present, to what might be shackling your future, to what the system wants you to believe about you being lacking, about you being incapable, about you being powerless. All these lies that are being forced upon us, these narratives that are being said on our behalf as humans, will shatter. Because once you ask these questions, you say, well, they're doing it. These people are running towards live ammunition, smiling, laughing, dancing, drumming, singing. If you just have to sit and ask, like, are they not afraid? Are they not worried? They literally are dying to live.
Yeah.
How many people do you know that are doing that?
So this is a question. Is this because of oil? Is this because, what is the resource? Because it's always and based on taking back from what we did last time with our podcast about imperialism, right? Why is it that they don't want people to look over there and see what's happening, besides the fact that we're creating a consciousness and that this is a powerful tool? We can't have, the masses with consciousness and thinking people. That besides that, what else is the reason why you believe that this is excuse me, Muggs is making weird noises. This is the reason why we're doing. Is it because of oil? What is the resource? Because there's always some type of resource that's out there that, I want to keep that.
Oh, there's plenty. Sudan is really, it's very rich in a lot of things, but arguably the richest in food. Sudan has been dubbed, not by Sudanese, but by scientists, multilateral institutions, international institutions, you name it, as the global food basket.
Global.
The global food basket. The land of Sudan has the potential to feed the world.
Wow.
Not Sudan alone, not Sudan and our neighbors, not Sudan and Africa, not Sudan and Africa and the Arab, the world. There is research, official documents to back that up.
So that means that we have people who have researched and we're talking about, in objective scientific observation, where we have so many people that are starving right now because of whatever reason. Sudan can help avoid that issue. Just Sudan alone.
Just Sudan alone. But to do that, we need to have sovereignty over our land. We need to be able to reclaim our land. We need to have sovereignty over our food and our food systems.
Yeah.
But what is the land of Sudan now being used for? That same land is being leased to UAE, to Saudi Arabia. UAE is the United Arab Emirates. I call it the United Axis of Evil. They're the same acronyms. One is far more accurate than the other.
Mm-hmm.
There is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There is, of course, Qatar. Those three Gulf countries, Arab Gulf countries, are leasing land in Sudan, are tilling land in Sudan. They're not employing Sudanese to do this work. So they're not even pouring back one way or another back into that economy, but they are growing food. They are filling their containers. They are putting their stamps made in whatever respective country, and they are shipping this food back to their countries to feed their people while our people starve. And then these genocidal terrorists in power would come out and tell you, no, the world needs to support that Sudan get taken off a state-sponsoring terrorism list so that Sudanese don't starve. You literally have Sudanese people, particularly Sudanese people in the diaspora, because the element of guilt is really real there and it's being peddled forward, that if you support people's demands, if you side with the people, the country will disintegrate into chaos and you will be ultimately responsible for these people's starvation.
Kind of like the narrative of, someone like, and I'm always going to use Puerto Rico as a reference because most of us like the narrative of, if Puerto Rico ever gets to be separated from the United States, we're going to starve, we're going to die. And it's like, well, if we learn how to go back, because our ancestors lived here for, I don't know, millennia before the colonizers came in, we were fine. We knew how to handle nature. We knew how to live with nature. We knew how to do all these things.
Yeah.
Since we take it a bit long, we take it a step further. Who else said, you as a people cannot control yourselves because your ways are primitive?
There's a lot of examples there. Europeans in the slave trade. That's definitely
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you need.
That's
all you need.
That's
and when we were talking about when we talked about the imperialism episode, we talked about how at one point grabbing slaves wasn't such a good look anymore. Like the PR, the optics of that wasn't as good because people were discovering humanism and, etc. So the new excuse for imperialism was, no, we're doing this for your own good. We're trying to help you. We're bringing our superior culture to you. By force, but yeah, we're helping you out.
We're bringing civilization to you.
But hold on, didn't you see that military prick on the news, bro? I blew up. Fuck this shit.
Welcome,
Joe. No, hold on. Fuck that. I'm about to go back into the shadows because this shit is gonna piss me off. He said, what was it that he said? He said, no, the president or the prime minister or whoever was in, he's in my house.
Yes.
He's okay. I'm just gonna take over for the next few years until you guys get your shit together. Then I'm gonna give it back.
So that's like the bully saying, "Let me
hold on.
Wait.
Let me say this real quick. Let me say this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yes. Coming back.
Joey.
Yeah, no, they use the same excuse. The Americans use the same excuse for Iraq. Yeah, it's you can't ever fall for that.
Bro, they use the same excuse for us.
Yeah.
What's known as el PPD, is it? The Populares?
Mm-hmm. Partido
Popular
Popular
Party and Democrat, whatever the fuck. And it was no. We're gonna be part of the United States just until we can get our stuff straight. It's like, okay, the bully's kicking our ass, so let's act like bullies with other guys next to this one, just so he doesn't kick the shit out of us until we can find a way of leaving. But when you leave, the asshole follows you anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of examples in the past, fairly recent
But
history.
this
like
is the
300
problem. This is not the past. This is happening right now. We're in day 11 of the social blackout, right?
Yeah,
In Sudan.
yeah,
So
exactly.
this is what
Arrest. It's not just the blackouts. It's
No.
arrest. They arrest. Okay, so
Go ahead.
again, let's go a few steps back. They had the peaceful sit-in. People's power was coming through. It was clear. You had to reckon with it. It didn't matter who you are, what you had to pick a child. You had to pick a side, and that side had to be the people if you wanted to be on the right side.
Correct.
So how you can do this is facilitate and like peddle, agendas like Egypt. We'd be like, okay, but we need to do this in an orderly manner. Da 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 da. And people are exhausted. Yeah. But June 3rd, if you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, research, check Google, hashtag Sudan massacre, capital S, capital M, Sudan massacre. And I warn you, a trigger warning out here for how vicious that day was. That was the day of June 3rd, 2019. At the dawn, it was the last day of Ramadan. We're starting up, and it's going to be one of the holy days of Muslims. Though Sudan is not only Muslim, but it is predominantly Muslim. You had people who were fasting in the summer, spending the night out in the sit-in peacefully, and they were betrayed at the crack of dawn. These genocidal terrorists were released upon them. They unleashed all hell. They set fire to tents, to camps. They killed, shot, tortured, raped, young and old, women and men, dead and alive. They raped them.
Is it the Khartoum
Sudan massacre?
Sudan massacre.
Yeah. And then was a blackout. They switched off all internet, all phones. We had no way of knowing what was going on so that they can seal their crimes against humanity. It wasn't until a few days later that people started getting internet and people started uploading the
atrocities.
There's no word for it. They weighed down bodies. They weighed down bodies that they killed with cement blocks and threw them into the Nile. So we don't know how many of us they killed.
So
when we are now experiencing this in 2021, after having experienced that in 2019, it doesn't matter whether you're in Sudan or out of Sudan. These are the first emotions that are coming out.
Yes, because you're opening up a scar.
Yeah.
If they did it then, what's to stop them from doing it now? Especially that they've had 2 years of building power, of getting money poured in from the Emirates, from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from Egypt, from the US. It was the US advocated also to like, oh, maybe we should take Sudan off as state sponsoring terrorism. Dígame, how are you going to take a country, a government, off a state sponsoring terrorism list when the two highest in command are admitted genocidal terrorists? Like, they said it.
Yes.
They said it. Like, we're not saying it on their behalf. There are recordings that they are said we have carried out the Darfur genocide. How are you justified? If you're watching this and you are a US citizen, these are the questions you need to ask your government.
Yes.
What is this government doing in your name for the people of Sudan? Because the people have made it very clear, no more military rule. Then you have the US envoy to the Horn of Africa, or the US envoy or the US ambassador to whatever, to that region saying, oh, let bygones be bygones. Why don't you come and kiss and make up? We're just going to pretend that this coup didn't happen. And let's just go back to that agreement, which is a facade of an agreement empowering the military.
So here's the thing. They said until things get organized. Weren't the people already organized? So then what's the other, what are you waiting for? What's the excuse? Once again, this agenda.
The 60 days versus 15, right?
Right.
60 days versus 15. I mean, there are far more agendas at play here. It's not just the Egyptian agenda or the Arab agenda or the US agenda, because the US has its own agenda in Sudan. The US has been trying to get an AFRICOM base in Sudan for, across Africa, but specifically in Sudan for a very long time. And now that's the seeds for that has been planted. Of course, they couldn't have gone forward with that if Sudan is a state sponsoring terrorism list.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's taken off, then AFRICOM can go have a base there. And Sudan is a very, very strategic position. Same thing with France. France was the country to say, oh, no, what's happening in Darfur? We need to take that to the ICC. France put forth the resolution at the United Nations to transfer the Darfur crisis to the International Criminal Court. Right now, France is pipsqueak quiet while the perpetrators of that same genocide are in power. Not only that, they are supporting it. Why?
They got what they wanted.
Nah, not just that, because West Africa and Francophone countries are calling on a united African currency. If they have a united African currency, it means they're going to stop using the franc. France doesn't even use the franc. France uses the euro, but it's still producing the franc. So out of every franc that is used across West Africa or anywhere in Africa, out of every franc, there's a percentage that is going into the French economy. If the African countries decide to have an African currency backed by African gold, at least 60%.
Okay, guys, so this is a terrifying image. This is a strong, somber, but necessary conversation. And this is an image of what the Sudan massacre looked like. We're not looking at animals. We're looking at human beings. We are showing what this world is really capable of when you eradicate communication. Trigger warnings. If this is too strong, come back later, do your own research, see what you can see. But the truth of the matter is, once again, you cannot cover the sun with your hands.
Yeah.
This is a reality. This is a reality. And this is strong because I'm an extremely sensitive person, obviously, but it doesn't matter how I feel. What matters is that we're talking about human beings, a people, a culture that is begging, that is fighting for their right to just simply live. As Dima says, they are literally dying to live. We're showing what's really going on. We can't just sit on the sidelines and be entertained by Netflix. This is what they want. They want us to just be blinded by, stay entertained. Don't think.
Yeah.
And we got to stop it. You have to think. You got to ask questions. It's our responsibility. What are we going to do? What can we do? What we're doing right now is something. Something. And this is a chain reaction. In Puerto Rico, we all saw that there was an issue. Yes. Ben Stiller in which one was it? The dodgeball. Towards the end, he said, "Don't make me think, just keep me entertained." This was a real criticism that he put into his movies. But the criticism is true, and this is what artists do. They have to push that in there because this is the only thing that people look at, right? They're going to look at movies. Well, then more conscious people like, okay, we're looking at movies. Well, I'm going to take my platform and I'm going to speak because I need to create consciousness. And this is us creating consciousness. This is us speaking. This is happening. This could be happening. We don't know because we're in day 11.
Yes. These photos are old photos.
Mm-hmm.
They are stronger now. They have more weapons now. They are better fed now. We are fueled by our determination, by our reclamation of power, by us recognizing that it's the same steps, and they're breadcrumbing us. They're compartmentalizing our justice and compartmentalizing our peace, and so ultimately they are compartmentalizing our liberation, and that is something that is being categorically rejected. They agree. I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Call out the bullshit.
My bad.
No.
I got a question. I have a
corporate.
question.
Sorry.
And under normal circumstances, I would think that this is a bit outlandish to do, but considering the amount of peaceful protesters that took to the street, like half the population of Puerto Rico were all out at the same time with the same point of view, working for the same freaking goal, something that I only wish my people would do. Sudan is still our people.
Yes.
Don't sleep. Those out that are listening, that are watching, either now or later, we're all one. So considering the millions of people that went out, right? So because of that, I can't consider this outlandish. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. And pardon me if it sounds ridiculous. But does Sudan have beef with the other countries around it? See, because if everybody's willing to spend so much time out there in the street, it's like, look, military, you want it? Okay, check this out. We're all gonna go out. We're gonna stay around here, chilling right at the edge with between Sudan and these other countries where they actually like us, and we decide what the fuck you're gonna do, because now who you're gonna rule? There's nobody there. You're gonna rule yourself. You done? Okay, and we come back home. It's kind of like what our grandparents, Sandy, did in the 30s and 40s. They took advantage of Operation Bootstrap. It's like, you know what? I don't trust the Americans. I don't trust y'all motherfuckers. I'm going to step back. Oh, shit. Look, all the prices went down. All the land went down. Well, you know what? Here's some of your dirty American fucking money. Give me my land. I'm coming back home and I'm ruling shit. And it was those that left that came back that ended up taking over all of the properties and the businesses. And most of them, not all, because we have a lot of assholes on the island too, but most of them started doing better for the people. It was when, then the oppression from the U.S. started hitting even harder in the 50s with the whole thing with the strike for the food and albisu and all this other stuff. Then it took another turn, but right until that personal beef, because the reality is all of that was a personal beef with albisu. You know what I mean? It all pretty much boils down to a personal beef between Albizu and Muñoz Marin. That was a junkie, got caught by the U.S., and then it's like, you know what? You're going to be our little monkey. You're going to do what we tell you. We got to get this little guy out of here. Why? Because you're a fairer skin than him. So Is that possible? Is there a way that we can get any help for Sudan from those around them until, by the look in your face, nobody wants to help?
I'm
No,
thinking
no, it's not that nobody wants to help. Is that this is all part of the continued colonial legacy. Everyone has shit going on. Ethiopia is right now disintegrating into madness.
yes.
Madness. And if you don't know what's happening in Ethiopia, keep your eyes on Ethiopia. Find out what's going on with the Tigray genocide. Find out what is happening at the Horn of Africa and why. Eritrea, our neighbors, the neighbor of the sea, a dictator, the same man who led the fight for independence, now is kidnapping and essentially arresting and taking high school students, putting them into army school, the Sawa school. Check out the hashtag end high school in South. I'll put it in there. All the hashtags are coming in together.
You're right.
But not just that, they are, if you are fortunate enough as an Eritrean to have managed to escape and leave the country as a refugee, and for whatever reason you are caught, you are sentenced. This is what we have around us. And what our neighbor to the north, Egypt, well, you already know where Egypt stands with this. Mm-hmm. So even if we try going, and Chad, I mean, the genocidal terrorist running now, the second in command, has very close ties with Chad. If any of us try and escape, we don't want to leave our land. What we're saying is we're reclaiming our land. And also, if we do leave the land, it just gives more of that land to be rented out or leased out or sold out to the Arabs so they can go and get their hands on our resources.
Because I mean, I asked only because it's like, okay, I don't know how anybody else would think, but if all of a sudden I open up my door in the morning and I see 3 million, 4 million, 5 million people standing there, and all they're asking for is, yo, can I have a glass of water and your internet? That's something the whole world has to pay attention to. You know, it's like, why isn't one of these countries dropping one of those like a Humvee with a fucking satellite on top, a dish? You know what I mean? UN can send a couple of Humvees with some dishes, start handing out satellite phones, and just make
hashtag Elon Musk. What you doing?
If
Let's
you
go.
take down one of these satellites or one of these Humvees, well, I guess you just made a declaration of war.
No, but that's the point. The people have already rejected the legitimacy of the military. The people have said this military does not represent us.
This is not us.
Still, any negotiation happening, if you read any of the articles, any of the official statements that are coming from US governments, Western governments, international institutions, they are going to negotiate with the stakeholders of Sudan, and that includes the military. The only stakeholders in Sudan are the Sudanese people on the streets saying no more military rule. That needs to be understood. That is what needs to be amplified. That is what people need to be asking more questions about and finding out how to advocate, how to amplify the voices on the ground, because they're not voiceless. Our people are not voiceless. We're being silenced. We're being silenced by the cutout of the media, by the cutout of the internet, by the cutout of the phone, by live ammunition, by torture. We are being silenced, but we are all connected, and we are letting everyone know, however way we can, that this is about you too. Not just because of our resources, not just because we can feed the world as Sudan, but because we have reclaimed the one thing they have been trying to and have succeeded for some time to take away from us. And that's our power.
Yes.
That's recognizing our truth, recognizing that we are powerful. We have the power. And once you recognize that too, then you won't sit in for all the bullshit that's happening in your country, what
does the military want with the farmland anyway? You looked at the farmers, at least in the videos that I saw. Okay, I can't like really make a big thing about it because it's not that. I actually didn't find a lot. It's difficult to find out, exactly what's going on right now. And it's like you looked at the condition of the farmers and the people that are out protesting, and you look at the military. If it wasn't for the guns, the military get their ass whipped. They look weak as fuck, talking as a fighter. You look at the farmers and you look at the military, and as they say in Puerto Rico, voy 20 al granjero. I got $20 on the farmer. Mm-hmm. Like that.
Well, I guess that's what they're looking at.
Made into a t-shirt. I just side note. That saying needs to be made into a t-shirt, and I need one. I need
$20. I got 20 on that farmer. Yeah, definitely.
I'm on it.
Word.
Here he is, John.
I'm getting a cricket. I'm going to go ahead and ask for, all right, cash at me, please. I need to buy a cricket so I can start making t-shirts. Help me out here,
Set up a GoFundMe.
Seriously, because it's true. It's true, though. And I understand, but I also see this is what I'm looking at. It's military power to have monetary gain and resource control, once again, over what obviously the farmers know what is to be of more value, which is the land for the people. The truth of the matter is, if you had an opportunity, and I know this is going to make perfect sense to you, if you have an opportunity to be able to have your piece of land so that you can cultivate it and you can feed your family, do you need anybody else? No.
Thomas Sankara said it. He who feeds you controls you. If we feed us,
then we control ourselves.
Well, okay, I just didn't understand the question. Because if you give me a whole bunch of land, yes, I do need people to help.
Yes.
You can't do that shit on your own.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. But if you are the owner of your land and you're able, with whatever help that you have of the people, right? I'm not talking about government help. I'm not talking about military help. I'm talking about your neighbors. Right. You all work together to feed everybody's family without any aid from anybody else. Would you need anyone else's help? Would you need the government's help?
Would not. I need help with a Kleenex because I'd cry, because the truth is, in Puerto Rico right now we won't see that.
No,
unless there's another Hurricane Maria, they don't give a fuck. They're crabs in a barrel.
Because in our country, my love,
I feel horrible saying it, but you know what? You cannot, no matter how much I got big hands. I got really big hands, but I can't cover the sky with them.
Right. But the
no matter how much I do this, I'm not covering shit. I'm covering my eyes, not the sky.
But the issue is, Joey, is that we need to understand that our people have believed that crutch that was pushed onto us before, saying we need their help. We can't do it alone. You see, they believe that lie. They believe that lie to the point where the very same people that used to haul that machete, that used to haul that hoe, right, and the pickaxe, told us, don't worry about working in the field, get your education, because this is not going to help you. Because they believed it, and they pushed us away from what we wanted to do.
Yeah, Joey, you're bilingual. You have no business working the ground. Don't get dirty. Go to the States.
This is what was pushed. That agenda was pushed.
And it goes back to the psychological warfare.
Yes.
The psychological warfare that we are somehow lacking or powerless or war-torn and diseased and incapable, really. That's the truth. For me personally, that's the truth of why Sudan is not on the news. Because if people recognize that people are out on the street and already reclaiming power. Like we're not waiting for your permission to give us power. We've reclaimed it. It's ours.
It's ours.
It's ours. There's nothing you can do about it. You can sit here and try and tell us how to claim our justice. We're not listening to any. We've organized. We've already organized. The world has seen and reckoned with our ways of organization. And also, when I say 4 million, that was just the 30th of October. The reason they came to the table and signed that facade of an agreement August 2019, even though they had said we're no longer negotiating, was because the 30th of June after that June massacre, when they thought they had scared us all, of course, the media was blacked out in Sudan, but the diaspora took to the streets, to social media. We stormed every platform and every space we possibly could to let the world know. We painted the web blue for Sudan. Because if you remember, there was a point where, like, in 2019, all these, like, and artists and celebrities had, like, turned blue for Sudan, and Wyclef had the song, and Rihanna. Yeah, we've organized. We can do it. But then they thought they wouldn't go back out on the streets. They said, okay, this organization is just happening in the diaspora. Then June 30th came. June 30th is the anniversary of when that Bashir regime came to power. And the aerial estimation of the people who were on the streets of June 30th, 2019, took it up to 14 million people on the street.
Wow.
14 million Sudanese on the streets. That's when they recognize, oh, we can't take this. So let's go to that table. Where's that table at?
Now you want the
Again,
table.
when you're talking about the table and who gets to sit on the table, the people are out there saying, you can keep your table. We have the land that holds you and that table.
Word. Woo! Yes.
That's why they don't want people finding out, because if people can see that, if people to people recognize, if you feel the energy, the power that is emanating out of me because it is connected to what's happening on my land, it'll wake you up too. And then you have one conversation with another person and you start saying, hey, do you know what's going on in Sudan? And then you let them know and be like, oh, wait, really? And then that continues. And we are the media. We are the power. It is why I categorically reject any form of labels, because even these labels, whether it's feminist, activist, these are all labels that limit us to one thing and exclude us from other things. I am an infinite being. I am here in this human body as a vessel. I am everything. You are everything. We are everything. The first attack on us, on our people, as people of indigenous ancestry, was to sever that truth. This is what's at risk here at Sudan. They don't want you to know that truth. They don't want you to hear that truth. So you need to go out there and ask more questions. Find out what these narratives are from Sudanese, because the media also has their own agenda to put forward. Find the Sudanese and connect your stories. Connect how artists organize in Dominican Republic when there's something that's going on, and how they have organized in Sudan. The murals that were painted when we were on the streets back in 2019, and how that was the first thing that the military painted over, literally the first thing. As soon as they signed that agreement, John, they walked in and they painted over all these murals to erase any form of beautiful expression.
Damn, that's heartbreaking. That's messed up. But I mean, from thinking about what it is they're trying to do, it does make sense. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it's very simple. Like, people think, oh, oh my God, Africa's so complicated. We can't get to deal and find out what's happening with all these countries that are, war torn and diseased and so far. No, it's really, really very, very, very simple. There is true power, and there's those trying to stop it. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
We just need to know which ones are we. Are we true power, or are we trying to stop it? And we need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to ask what our role is. Just like I ask, okay, what's my role in continuing the oppression of the indigenous people of Turtle Island by me standing every single time I say America? How does that hinder their healing journey, their call for justice? Because ultimately a call for justice is a call for healing. And that's why no one gets to say how you call for justice. No one gets to say how you get to heal because no one experienced that trauma but that group. But we have to hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
You know, this holiday's coming up, you know, because everyone's going around saying very happy to say happy Thanksgiving. How does that impact? Who does that impact?
Who does
Who
that
paid
impact?
the price? Who are you thanking? And who did the giving?
Who did the giving and who ended up giving all?
Yeah.
Whew. Okay.
I see someone
So-
saying, beware of China, the new devil of Africa. I go back and I say, we have to hold ourselves accountable. The misleaders on the continent, the African leaders, misleaders of the continent, are allowing the Chinese, the Europeans, the Russians, the Arabs into the continent.
Mhm.
Yes, they have an agenda, but at the end of the day, China, the US,
Who let them in? Who opened the door?
they're all serving their agendas. Who opened the door? Who let them in?
Who let them in?
Yeah.
Who let them in? Exactly. So, and that's the same thing that, and you'll see that over and over and over again, no matter what country we're talking about, regardless of the country, regardless of the land. When you're talking about native or indigenous people who walk into their land and they say, I'm home, and they love and they respect that home, those are the people who understand the value of it. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Look, I was born and raised in New York City. Okay, so what? I didn't get home until my grandparents took me there. Until my grandparents said, this is home. And I fought it tooth and nail because I was taught differently. I was marginalized. I was treated one way or another. And so I actually got to see home for what it really was with my eyes, not the eyes that other people wanted me to see, my own eyes. And then try to tell me that I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
Try to tell me that just because I wasn't born in Puerto Rico, that I'm not Borincana, that I'm not that. Go ahead. Go ahead. No. When I get home, my mother holds me. When I walk on that earth, that chunk of land, my mother holds me, kisses me, and she gives me this hug that tells me, welcome home, daughter. I miss you. And just like the way you're supposed to hold your mom, you hold her back like, I missed you too. Because that's the way it is. So find your home, no matter what it is. Find that place and fight for it. Defend it. Do what it is that you have to do, but respect it. And the truth of the matter is, we all have our place on this earth. Because from what I understand, we are all earthlings. So regardless, we have to make sure that we are taking care of it, because there's not much else for us to be able to do. The same way the indigenous are trying, begging, pleading for all of us to stop what you're doing. Don't let this commodity fool you into thinking that you need it. We don't. Use those hands, use those legs, because that's what they're for. Get your ass up, dig in the dirt, get dirty, and understand what Mother Earth is trying to tell you. Understand what Mother Earth is trying to tell you. And I don't know if this is my own rant. I don't know if she's trying to send a message. So be it. So be it. But our mother is screaming, and all of these issues that we're seeing in different parts of the world is telling us the same thing. Go ahead, Joey.
I have somebody here who might be able to clear up a few things. Not clear up, but maybe have a few ideas or help us out as far as maybe getting some type of internet system to those people. Stan, you there?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Hi, Stan.
Yeah, we can hear you, my brother Stan. Yes, sir.
I haven't heard you in a while.
He's
What's
my
up?
brother. He's
What's
my
up,
friend.
Stan?
He's my ex-co-worker, and definitely one of my tightest Kung Fu brothers. Stan,
What's up? What's up?
What up,
thank
man?
you for coming through and sharing at least a few minutes. I know you're busy, bro. Is there any way, like if you had, let's say, the resources of the United Nations, is there any possible way of getting internet to these people in Sudan?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of think about it. There's always a way, but it's not going to be easy. I wouldn't think. I mean, I think the best case for them would probably be creating like a huge hotspot, basically. It's basically as long as you get a signal and then you just need a way to receive it. So, I mean, they're totally shut off from everything. Yeah, I'm understanding. So
they have again, the embassies have internet, the government buildings have internet. There are selected areas with internet, but no, generally for the country,
So though it'll be illegal, it's not fuck them. It's not like they're not doing anything illegal. Is there a way of hacking into the system and taking their shit?
Yeah.
Oh, you're cutting out there, buddy. I didn't hear.
That's the tech gremlins.
Tech gremlins. They don't want us to share this. Is there a way of since there is some type of a signal going through to like the embassies and stuff, and obviously the military has their internet. Is there a way of hacking into their shit?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, there's always there's tech, there's a hack, right?
Laugh.
Yeah, but man, you're talking. That's way above my knowledge.
I mean, it's not federal, right. It's not impossible, but I mean that's as good as it gets as far as encryption and all that.
But again, this is again what we say, recognizing people power, right? We know for a fact that Google has this like internet balloon that I can't remember what it's called, that it can float over places and give internet. If enough people knew about what's going on in Sudan and were able to call on Google to say this, that's a different story. But again, it goes back to, it's not so much that the actual internet. It's about how we are connecting as a people. And the reason I keep emphasizing what our martyrs and our youth said is that this is a revolution of consciousness, because that emphasizes an energetic connection that no media or company or government or institution can touch.
Okay.
It's how do we get that into the physical in a way that will help the cause of the people right now on the ground. There are ways, there are people you can pressure. There are people you can call on, but we can't do that collectively if we don't know what's going on. This is why I'm so deeply appreciative for this space, so that we can share and so we can ask each other to ask more questions. Anyone who's hearing this, just for one day, put your status, a post, something, asking people to find out what's happening in Sudan. Hold space, yield your platform the same way these wonderful humans here have yielded their platforms. Call on Sudanese. If you don't have Sudanese friends, reach out to me. Reach out to any of the wonderful humans on your screen. They will connect you. If they don't connect you to me, if I can't do it, I will connect you to someone else. We are literally doing everything we can to connect these dots. And yeah, there are ways that we can hack or steal the internet, but there is another way to call out this bullshit global system and say, you keep saying you're about connecting people. You keep saying you're about power to the people. Well, here are the people, here is their power, and we are telling you, keep it on in Sudan.
So for my own curiosity, there's no way that the military will be able to completely shut out the internet from that area, right? Stan?
Oh, hold on a second, guys. Everything's so robotic. I cannot understand anything that's coming through.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I mean, I get bits and pieces. But then it goes like, and I lose out on a whole lot. But basically, I mean, how do they have it shut down? Like, I mean, like if it's like, say for example here, if it's Cincinnati Bell, you know, and they go and they tell Cincinnati Bell, you know, to shut it off, minus a few military threads or whatever they allowed the route to open, then that's fine. But there's other options. I mean, it's not fine. Don't let me rephrase that, but that's how they do that. But other options like cellular, I mean, those are many companies that they'll have to go through. and many towers that they'll have to shut down. Like, I mean, just even using a cell phone as a hotspot, even for a brief message or whatnot. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not understanding how they're able to. There's many like programs out there, social media, that unless they directly go to all of them, how are they shutting it down? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand.
So there are areas in Sudan that only just got power, as in electricity, 2 years ago.
Okay.
So just
what?
understand the dynamics of this,
Yeah. So from what I'm understanding that Dima's trying to say is, what we can do here is to take what we have as our commodities and use that to create consciousness and awareness of all eyes. We need to focus on what's happening in Sudan right now, because what's happening is that we're not hearing anything about this. It's like having that when we overthrew, what's that fool's name, that governor that got booted, Rosselló, when that imagine none of the internet being, pushed, and none of those images being shown, and no media, we didn't have David McNaught or whoever from CBS that come over and say nobody told the story, right? But that didn't happen. Why? Because there was too many of a connection. It was too close. We had too many people here in the diaspora saying, hey, you need to pay attention to what's happening over there. And there were people here saying, I need you to go over there. I need you to find out what's happening. And people pushed and motivated. And then when one newscaster went over there and got the scoop, you know how it is with media. They have their own agendas. And the more people that are going to turn on and tune in, that brings up the ratings, that makes people aware. They're going to want to start showing that story. So what we need to do is start asking questions. Why aren't you talking about it? I donate, to my local NPR because I pay close attention to what's happening here. Well, you know what? You're the national public radio station. Why aren't you telling me what's happening in Sudan?
Yeah.
And you best believe that after we're done here, I'm going to send my letter over to NPR and be like, why am I not hearing about what's happening in Sudan? I listen to you every day. I want to know what's
and the
going
argument there, like, even if they can say, oh, well, we're a national station, but what is the US doing for what's happening in Sudan? But Stan, to answer your question, we don't know how they're cutting the internet off. The people don't know how it's being done. And so we can't go around it. And that's part of the problem. All we know is, we know that they've been doing it intermittently. We know that they've been doing it in different areas and different services. And that's one tactic they've used to try and just like put a circle around where the activists were sending the information from, so that they can go and arrest them and torture them and break off the resistance committees. Because right now that is the only recognized legitimate authority on the streets, as far as I'm personally concerned, at least. It's the local resistance committees. So they've been kind of cutting off the internet from different parts of the world, of Sudan, of the country, and then saying, okay, this part is still active. They're sending stuff out. We can go and target and get them. But beyond that, we don't know how they're cutting the internet off. And if it's organized, like if it's organized in schedules or whatever, the phone services are being cut off and brought back on. And it's all, again, part of the psychological warfare, just to add to the stress and the anxiety, so that people get too exhausted and too drained to keep fighting.
Is there a way, Stan, that they could find out, like a third party can find out how it is that they're getting that done?
I mean, they could definitely
that
try.
You can speak of.
No, I tell you, man, they could probably poke and prod around and try to find out, but they're not going to let nobody know, because the second you let somebody know how they're doing it, they're obviously going to find a way around it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll ever know that answer till afterwards. As far as getting internet straight directly there, that might be tough, but a good solution is all of us could be the eyes and the voices, and using our platform here to shine light on that. Anybody who's over Sudan who does have services that they can't get to through cell phones, they could take videos, they could take pictures, they could come back to where they are and use our internet and get those up alive and just put a big spotlight on it. I think would be probably the biggest impacts instead of trying to figure out how to isolate something which they too could counter to possibly. You know what I mean?
So kind of like comparing it to music systems, daisy chain off of our platforms, and
yeah, we be the eyes and the voice, and then anybody there, like who's got a service outside of that area that can take live videos, that can take pictures, and then maybe email them or send them somebody who's already back over here so they could go to their social media and post it live. I think that'll probably be the best and easy and non-interruptible way.
Stan, I know you're busy, and I want to thank you, brother, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for helping us out and sharing with us, bro.
Yeah, sorry, I wish I had more for you on that, but
it's all right, man. You know what? I'm gonna try to give you a quick call when the show's over. All right, brother.
All right, fantastic. It's great seeing you guys.
Good hearing from you, man. It's been a while.
All right, no problem. Take care. Bye.
We missed you, Sam.
I missed you too.
All right, guys.
I'm so appreciative for this because, again, this is if Joey's pulling someone in to get their experience, I know they know what they're talking about. And this is just further confirmation and affirmation for me as a Sudanese diasporan right now, and just seeing what our people around the world outside Sudan have been doing. I mean, I've put in the private chat, and I don't know if that can be shared, some of the hashtags and an account on Twitter and Instagram to share. This sister, I don't even think she sleeps, to be honest. I don't know how she's doing it, but daily ends the day with a summary. If people are just finding out about what's happening in Sudan, here's what's going on daily. Just updates. And it's just literally all what Stan just said. Everything that Stan just said about yielding that platform, getting whatever you can get from the ground. Because, yeah, sometimes, an embassy or an ambassador or someone will put the Wi-Fi without a password so that people can send out something. Mm-hmm. And when we get those, like, a huge shout out to our Eritrean family, because they've held space for us on Twitter and conversations almost every other day. And one of these times, like the day before the October 30th, which is the Million People's March in Sudan, the night before, it was nighttime in Sudan, and this guy goes on and he's like, I was just listening, but I had to come on and request to speak. He was speaking from Sudan, and the internet managed to connect, and he was able to hear us as diasporans and as not just as Sudanese diasporans, but the larger African diaspora talk about what can we do? How can we amplify? How can we share? What can we learn? Where are these lessons? And hearing him reflect and hear. And he's like, I know you all are worried. I know you all are panicked. I'm just here to let you know that the spirits are high. We're on the street. We're ready. We're drumming. We're prepared.
Drumming.
We're drumming. We're drumming. We're going to that drum until we can dance to the beat of freedom.
Bang that drum. And I want to just take that moment right now. I think that's that right there is the full circle, right? Bang your drum. Everybody, do what you can do. Put it on. Here it is. Put it on your social media. Ask questions. Contact I'm not a political person, but you know what? I am a letter writer. I teach that lesson every day. Okay.
And I wanna put something out there. Stan, if you're watching, I'm gonna post this up there. You probably don't like this pic. It's not the best pic of us, but you know what? I actually love this picture. You're gonna see me, you're gonna see John, and you're gonna see Stan.
Oh, I know which one.
I find this very important. Because something that people don't realize is that racism goes both ways.
We can't see Stan. There he is.
Yeah, he's on the right. Yeah.
He's on the far right. That's Stan. Thank you, Stan.
He's not white. He's my brother.
That's right.
Facts. Same here.
Facts.
That's what everybody needs to start learning. It's not
Yes.
about color. It's not about where you're from. It's whether or not you choose from the heart.
Yep.
And that brother that was helping us out, a lot of y'all would have fucking turned your backs on him just because of his color.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do I say that? No matter what color you are, don't turn your backs on Sudan right now because we all won, goddammit. Stop your shit.
Thank you,
This
Joe.
is why I keep playing the. You know what? Hold on.
All right, people. Thank you so much for your time. This was, yes, it was somber. So the fuck what? Okay. Speak your voice. Bang your drum. Hashtag Sudan Coop. Hashtag Sudan Blackout. Follow at B Sun Blast on Twitter and Instagram for daily updates. If you're on any of those platforms, I got to get with it. I got to open up my Twitter account and I guess my Instagram account. You know, this is unfortunately, I'm not with it, but I have to because now it's not about me. It's about something a lot bigger than me. And if it's about somebody else that I can do, something else that I can do to help, then you know what? I'm going to do what I got to do in order to have that voice be heard because one more voice matters. Not just, oh, you're important. We want to hear you. No. We need to speak up. Earth, Mother Earth, and I'm speaking for Mother Earth, okay? She is begging her children to stand up. And as her children, my mama told me that she needs me. I'm standing front and center because I am a fierce protector of my mother. Fierce protector of my mother. And right now, she is begging us to take care of her babies, okay? And if we, those farmers, are the caretakers of her, okay, they understand what it is. Because if you don't have that connection with earth, please do yourself a favor and just stick your hand in the earth and find that connection. Reach deep down inside and find it. You will find it. If a child can do it, so can you, okay? Everyone here, thank you so much for your time. Power to Sudan. Thank you, John. Thank you, Paco, for tuning in. Thank you, Carmen, because Carmen was on there for a moment, I know. And everybody else, t-shirt, I got 20 on the farmer. This is Torre del Viejo. This is Apple on the Desk. This is stuff about art about stuff. This is Dima. This is the
Farmers are coming through, goddammit.
This is the unicorns, the black unicorns. This is Nube. This is all of us standing together for Sudan. You are going to hear us. And my pledge is every time we have our podcast, once again, I'm going to ask, hashtag, what is going on with Sudan? Okay. What is going on with Sudan?
Yeah. Does anybody, right before we end this, does anybody in our comments have a quick question?
Yes. Any
Take
questions or
now.
Q&A?
We
Any
got Dr.
questions?
Dima right here. Doctor, yes.
Yes.
He's the only one here with a doctorate. It's definitely not me, and I know it's not fucking John.
You have a doctorate in being a pain in the ass. You have a double doctorate in being a pain in the ass.
I could totally be a
Hell
doctor,
yeah.
whatever.
I got 20 on the farmer, boy. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. This was fantastic. My panelists, don't go anywhere. We're going to see you guys in the studio.
Okay.
Everybody who's been watching, all eyes on Sudan, because looking at our neighbors is looking at us, yo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember, you can't point a finger without having three pointing right back at you.
Mm-hmm.
Be safe.
Hashtag Sudan.